If I had to pick a legendary scene from Season 5 of Vikings, it would undoubtedly be this bizarre assembly of a bird, a man, and a dwarf. As for why this man is wandering naked in a frozen, snowy landscape, let's reveal that mystery right now. Under Freydis's constant flattery, Ivar has become completely delusional, believing himself to actually be a god and even holding a ceremony to declare his divinity. He captures a woman and dresses her up as Lagertha, telling the people that she is Lagertha and that he will sacrifice her to avenge his mother's death. Despite knowing the woman is an imposter, the people remain silent out of fear of Ivar. However, a few brave souls dare to call out Ivar's deception and speak up for their queen in their hearts. Ivar took the opportunity to arrest them for their complicity with Lagertha. Even though the double begged, Ivar brutally sacrificed her in front of everyone. Hvitserk can't stand Ivar's self-delusion anymore, mocking his pretense of divinity and publicly exposing his tricks. A defiant Ivar consults the seer, hoping to hear what he desires, but the seer not only tells Ivar that he is merely immortal but also foresees Ivar's chariot breaking apart like his legs.
Settled in your skull, and your eyes betray you. Your path is strewn with garbage and filth. Oh, the horror.
After saying this, the seer foretold his own death, which might have been the closest his predictions ever came to the actual outcome. Because of the seer's words, Ivar, enraged, kills the seer. The next day, they claim the seer has left Kattegat, but the observant Hvitserk notices blood on the ground. He knows only the brutal Ivar would dare harm the seer, though Ivar suggests it could have been a trap by the seer, though the incident is left unresolved. Divine retribution is often delayed but inevitable. It wasn't long before news of Lagertha and the others helping Alfred in defeating Harold reached Kattegat. Ivar decides it's time to play another game with Alfred, but for caution, he seeks allies.
Sorry to startle you.
He sends Hvitserk to forge an alliance with King Olaf and plans to start in spring. Hvitserk is reluctant, not wanting to be at Ivar's beck and call, especially since he has just started a relationship with a girl named Thora. But Ivar, indifferent, uses Thora's life as leverage over Hvitserk. With no choice, given Ivar's madness, Hvitserk agrees. Upon Hvitserk's arrival at his destination, amidst a heavy snowfall, the steward Canute insists Hvitserk strip and follow him.
But first you must take off your clothes.
What?
Thus, a scene with a naked man and a dwarf walking through a snowy landscape is born. King Olaf had long been aware of Hvitserk's visit and had been waiting once again. Meanwhile, someone destroys Ivar's statue, signaling his loss of the people's heart. Investigations reveal that Hvitserk's girlfriend, Thora, was involved in the act. Ivar is baffled, wondering why, despite his efforts to be a good king, people still oppose, criticize, and tarnish his image. Thora recalls her parents saying that in Ragnar's time, everyone was free to do as they pleased and speak their minds. No one forced them to worship Ragnar because Ragnar knew he was just a man, but Ivar forced the people to worship him every day. Moved yet reflective after hearing this, Ivar doesn't introspect but instead burns Thora and her family alive. Days later, Hvitserk finally voices his true thoughts, describing Ivar's cruelty to Olaf and asking for his help to overthrow Ivar's tyranny. But with Olaf already allied with Ivar, it's not easy for him to be swayed by just a few words from Hvitserk. So, Olaf hangs Hvitserk in a sauna, using the heat and dehydration to test his sincerity. Days pass, but Hvitserk remains steadfast in his conviction. His sincere attitude and strong will convincing Olaf. Thus, Olaf agrees to help Hvitserk rescue the people of Kattegat from tyranny.
Ivar's kingdom.
When Alfred discovers that his mother poisoned his brother to protect him, he's utterly devastated, unable to fathom that his mother could be so cruel. Judith tells Alfred to deal with state affairs once he's done venting. As a king, he can't afford the luxury of ordinary human emotions, nor should he easily display his joys and sorrows.
Things against all conscience. If he wants to survive.
Indeed, as a king, the hardships he faces daily go far beyond just this. During his unconscious state, A Danish fleet had already reached the western shores of Wales, and if left unchecked, they would soon reach the borders of Wessex. Preliminary estimates from scouts suggest the enemy numbers at least 1,000 warriors. Alfred had planned to confront the enemy himself, but Ubbe wished to resolve this crisis in his own way.
If you make me the head of the army, I will find a way of dealing with the Danes.
Meanwhile, Judith, who committed the grave act of killing her own child for the greater good, quickly faced divine retribution when she developed a breast disease, which was actually breast cancer. The doctors at the palace could do nothing about it, nor could the witch doctors outside. As Judith wallows in sorrow, a familiar voice echoes through the room. She approaches and sees the missing Lagertha, once a queen now fallen into destitution, deeply affected by Hemun's death. On the other side, Ubbe has already set out with his army. The invading enemy is a coalition of 3 Danish lords. To avoid unnecessary bloodshed, Ubbe decides to negotiate first. Upon learning that the emissary is Ragnar's son, the warriors beat their shields and chant Ubbe's name, indicating his fame has spread far and wide. Ubbe explains the situation to the 3 lords. The Vikings now have their own land, where they can live and prosper without worry for food or clothing, ensuring no more need for constant fighting for survival. After brief deliberation, 2 of the lords agree to the proposal, but a lord named Frodo refuses. Ubbe sees Frodo's refusal as a personal insult, thus challenging him to a duel. If Ubbe wins, Frodo's men will settle down. Otherwise, the trio will continue their attack on Hvitserk. The rule is the same as always, only one of them can leave alive. Not long into the battle, Ubbe slices open Frodo's abdomen, but Frodo retaliates with a powerful punch, knocking Ubbe to the ground. Ubbe then slashes Frodo's right arm, but Frodo also lands a blow to Ubbe's abdomen and head with the axe handle. Frodo's combo leaves Ubbe seeing stars. Just as Frodo tries to disarm Ubbe, Ubbe swiftly gets up and tackles him, then pummels Frodo with heavy punches. Despite the powerful blows to his head, Frodo's resilience is strong. He still manages to throw Ubbe off. Without his long sword, Ubbe is forced to fend off the giant axe with a dagger. Speed is the dagger's advantage. Ubbe cleverly slashes Frodo's forearm and quickly stabs Frodo's thigh, followed by a grapple and punches. Whether it's because of too much vegetarian diet in England or Frodo's high resilience, Ubbe's continuous attacks hardly injure Frodo. The battle has drained both parties, relying solely on their strong will to continue the fight. But ultimately, Ubbe is overpowered by the physically superior Frodo. Facing imminent defeat, Ubbe prays to Odin for help. Both the scenario and the lines are so similar between father and son. Lagertha once said that Ubbe resembles Ragnar the most, both in looks and personality. Just as Frodo prepares to finish Ubbe, Ubbe suddenly rises swiftly, moves behind, and stabs Frodo to death with a backstab. Frodo's lieutenant tries to avenge him but is killed by Torvi, who was standing behind. Ubbe wins the duel, and the 2 lords will lead everyone to settle in East Anglia. Though severely injured and unable to move, Ubbe, who averted a war with his own strength, must surely be Ragnar's proudest son. Revenge mode began when Thorgrim killed Bull. Not long after, they discover Thorgrim in the hot springs. To prevent further bloodshed, Floki proposes sacrificing himself to appease the god's wrath, but the vote doesn't pass. Not only does the Kjetil family unanimously oppose it, but even Ivan's son disagrees.
You are more important to us alive.
Floki then gathers them once more and speaks from the heart. He essentially says that both families have each lost a son and can't afford more sacrifices, especially since the 2 families are intermarried. Kjetil's daughter Thorin is about to give birth, marking Iceland's first new life. Floki begs both sides to put aside their axes and live in peace for the sake of their shared future and this new life.
To the birth of a new child. Let us drink to the new child.
However, one day, the pregnant Thorin disappears. Helgi suspects his father killed her, but even Ivan wouldn't murder his pregnant daughter-in-law. Thorin disappearing without a trace makes no sense, as being alone in such harsh conditions is tantamount to death. On a stormy night, Floki sees Thorin's ghost. Yes, Thorin is dead. Her husband's brother, Asbjorn, smashed her head with a rock. She reveals the truth to Floki and points out where her body is buried. Indeed, they find Thorin's body where indicated, and her death brings both families to their knees in grief. However, the real culprit is Ivan's third son, Asbjorn. To punish their actions, Floki banishes them from the settlement. With winter approaching, their chances of survival outside are slim. Floki believes they no longer deserve sympathy, and Ivan tried to fight Floki in a duel, but he knew he had no advantage.
You could. But you would lose.
With no other choice, Ivan's family leaves. Then, as expected, winter arrives. One day, the also exiled Helgi visits, looking nearly frozen to death, and some of his fingers have necrotized. Due to the harsh conditions and lack of food, the exiled Ivan family is barely clinging to life. Aside from a few children who have died, the rest are bedridden. Helgi begs for help for his family. Floki first amputates his necrotized fingers. Then, they discuss whether to help them. Floki fears Ivan's return could disrupt their current peace, but Helgi argues that after enduring such hardships, his father has learned his lesson and they are all reflecting on their actions. Kjetil's opinion is crucial as a victim who lost both a son and a daughter. Surprisingly, Kjetil generously agrees to the rescue. So, they brave the harsh weather and finally reach Ivan's makeshift shelter. Seeing Kjetil put aside past grievances to help them, Ivan feels immense guilt and decides to start anew. Kjetil finally agrees with Floki's view that they've truly transformed from bloodthirsty barbarians to a community of love and kindness. But is that really the case? The next day, as everyone prepares to leave, Kjetil suddenly sheds his benevolent facade.
Come on, you old witch.
Why did you say that?
Because it's true. You're a witch and a murderess. And you deserve to die! What are you doing?
In front of Floki, they slaughter all of Ivan's family.
This is madness! No, I've thought about this a long time, Floki. Please!
Only then does Ivan realize that Kjetil had always been a demon in disguise. Kjetil had been biding his time for this moment of revenge, never forgetting his children's brutal deaths. With this, Floki's last hope for light is extinguished. He thought they had escaped the cycle of conflict and killing. He thought they would be reborn in this new world. But human nature doesn't change easily, and Floki was wrong after all. The next day, Kjetil executes Ivan as if performing an execution, but Helgi was not only Kjetil's son-in-law but had always sided with Kjetil, yet they spared him no mercy. When everyone returns home, Aud senses something is wrong. After hearing Floki's recount, she breaks down. Kind-hearted Aud had always tried to mediate between the two families. She believed in Floki and in this new world, but her father was the ultimate demon, and their actions were not vengeance but massacre.
I should never have brought you all to this place.
The next day, disheartened, Aud ends her life by jumping off a cliff. A scene Floki happens to witness. After burying Aud, a dispirited Floki leaves to seek answers from the gods. He discovers a cave, but deep inside, he finds a crucifix. No wonder they hadn't received the god's protection. The deity Floki had been seeking was actually the Christian god. This ironic result caused Floki to break down and cry out in pain. Does this suggest that Christianity is the ultimate destiny for the Vikings? As a volcanic eruption causes the cave to collapse, Floki's Icelandic saga temporarily concludes. Floki's fate will be unveiled in Season 6.